Her suitcase was already in the car when I got home. That was the first thing I saw, just sitting there in the driveway, trunk popped, engine running, and her inside, hands on the wheel like she'd been caught halfway through a getaway. I froze at the edge of the sidewalk, holding a bag of takeout I bought because she said she didn't feel like cooking tonight. Chicken lo mein, extra sauce, no onions. Her favorite. She didn't even get out. She just rolled the window down halfway and said, "Hey, I'm gonna go stay at Kara's for a bit." My heart did this weird thing, like it shrunk and expanded all at once. Why? Her eyes didn't quite meet mine. "I just need space, Theo. It's not about you. It's me. You've done nothing wrong. I just need to think." I took a few steps closer, still holding the bag, like offering food could fix whatever this was. "Can we talk about this inside?" She flinched, almost like I'd shouted. "Not right now. Just call me tomorrow, okay?" And then she drove off. No kiss. No hug. Not even a proper goodbye. Just brake lights and the scent of exhaust. I stood there in my driveway, holding cold noodles, trying to figure out if I'd just been broken up with or if she was just dramatic. The neighbor's cat walked by and stared at me like I was a clown. I went inside, set the food on the counter, tried to eat but couldn't even chew. The worst part? A tiny part of me was relieved. That's what scared me most. Because I'd felt something coming. I just didn't think it would happen in the middle of a Wednesday with soy sauce still in my hand. I opened her laptop. I know I shouldn't have, but you don't get to casually disappear after 5 years without giving me something more than, "I need space." There it was. Not even hidden. An open tab for a hotel. 2 nights. 2 guests. Booked yesterday. A name in the confirmation email I didn't recognize. And then the texts. Between her and someone named Mitch. Compliments. Plans. Screenshots of flights. One message read, "He's too soft. I'll be out by tonight." I'm he. Soft. That word sat in my throat like a stone. And maybe she's right. Because I didn't scream. I didn't trash anything. I didn't even cry. I just picked up my phone and called my lawyer. And that was before it got worse. I didn't sleep that night. I tried. I laid on her side of the bed, thinking maybe her scent would calm me down. But it didn't smell like her anymore. Not really. It smelled like a stranger who left in a rush, like the ghost of someone who used to love me and forgot to take her perfume with her. I opened the hotel reservation again. 2 guests. 1 king bed. Check-in at 4:15 p.m., exactly 40 minutes after she told me she was meeting Kara for drinks. I zoomed in on the confirmation email like I was some kind of detective, looking for a glitch, a mistake, something to convince myself I was wrong. But I wasn't. She even used our joint card to book it. Our money. That was what really got me. She didn't even bother to hide it properly, like I didn't matter at all anymore. I sat there in the dark, rereading those messages to Mitch. Not M, not D, Mitch. And suddenly, he had a face in my head. Some confident, better-looking version of me. The kind of guy who doesn't blend smoothies. The kind who probably lifts weights and doesn't flinch when someone raises their voice. I imagined him laughing with her in that hotel room, lying in bed, her fingers tracing his shoulder, saying things to him she used to whisper to me when she thought I was the only one. The next morning, I didn't call her. I didn't call Kara either, even though I thought about pretending to ask how the sleepover went. Instead, I called the hotel. I don't know what I was hoping for, a slip-up, a confirmation, a room service bill with 2 sets of breakfast. But they wouldn't give me anything. Guest privacy, they said. Guest privacy. What about husband sanity? By noon, my hands were shaking. I'd barely eaten. My lawyer didn't answer, so I called the second number he gave me just in case of emergencies. And I guess this counted, because 10 minutes later, I was sitting in my car outside his office, staring at my own reflection in the windshield like I didn't even recognize the guy staring back. He talked calmly. Too calmly. Like this was just another Tuesday for him. Asked if there was a prenup. Nope. If we had joint property. Yep. And if we had kids. Nope. Thank God. Then he asked if I wanted to go nuclear or quiet. I didn't know. I said, I just don't want to feel like a fool anymore. When I got home, I noticed something I hadn't seen the night before. She took her favorite necklace. The little gold one I got her for our 2nd anniversary. But she left her wedding ring on the dresser. Just sitting there. Alone. Almost like she already knew I wasn't going to call her tomorrow. I kept staring at that ring like it was ticking. Like it might explode if I touched it. She didn't even bother to put it back in the box. Just laid it there, plain as daylight, like a final period at the end of a sentence I never got to read. I should have been angry. Should have smashed it with something heavy. But all I did was pick it up and whisper, "Why?" That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened her old hard drive. Not the one she uses now. This was her dusty backup she tossed in a drawer after she got her new MacBook. I remembered she used to sync her phone backups to it when she was too lazy for iCloud. I didn't expect to find much. Maybe old photos. Maybe a few text logs. But the folder labeled Exports was filled with something else entirely. Voice memos. Not dozens. Hundreds. Some of them were nothing. Shopping lists, reminders, half-written poems. But then I found one labeled Room 712. I clicked it. My palms were sweating before it even started. Her voice came on, hushed, breathy. "Hey babe," she giggled. "I'm walking down the hallway. He's probably still stuck at work. Poor thing." I told him I'm staying at Kara's again. He believed it. Of course he did. I paused it. My ears were ringing. I had to replay that one line 3 times just to believe it was real. He believed it. That was me she was talking about. Me. The fool, the poor thing, sitting at home making dinner for no one. The memo went on. Her describing what she was wearing. Laughing. "Giddy. I'll knock twice. You better answer fast," she whispered, then ended it. I don't remember sitting down, but suddenly I was on the floor. I think I blacked out for a few seconds. My head was spinning, my mouth dry. I kept telling myself to get up, to shut the computer, to burn the whole damn drive. But I couldn't. I just sat there, listening to that voice like it belonged to someone who had died and come back crueler. And then I saw it. A folder inside the folder. Hidden. Labeled with just a date. 3 weeks ago. I opened it. Inside were screenshots. One of them showed a text conversation with someone saved as Mitch Bellhop Bell. Another one showed my face. Literally, my face. A photo she must have taken without me knowing, maybe while I was sleeping or on the couch. She had sent it to him with the caption, "This is the guy who still thinks I'm out getting drinks with the girl's loudly crying face." I've never felt more hollow in my life. Not angry. Not jealous. Just emptied. Like I wasn't even a person anymore. Just some storyline she used to spice up her little romance novel. I finally called her. Straight to voicemail. Then she texted, "Can't talk right now? Everything okay?" I didn't answer. I just stared at the blinking cursor for 10 minutes before texting back. "Check the drawer when you come back. Then call your lawyer." No emojis. No punctuation. No goodbye. She wanted space. I gave her a crater. And the crazy part? That wasn't even the worst thing I found on the hard drive. I should have stopped digging. I should have closed the folder, shut the lid, and walked away with what little dignity I had left. But I didn't. Something in me, maybe the same pathetic instinct that kept buying her favorite snacks even after she stopped eating at home, needed to know everything. So I clicked the last video file in that hidden folder. It was short, only 12 seconds, but I'll never forget a single frame. It opened with shaky footage of a man's chest, nothing graphic, just shirtless, laughing, holding a glass of wine. Faye was filming him. I recognized her laugh. She whispered, "Tell me again what you said about Theo." And the guy, Mitch, I assume, smirked and said, "I said, he's like a rescue dog. Sweet, loyal, but boring as hell. You keep him around because you feel bad putting him down." The screen went black. 12 seconds. That's all it took to burn 5 years of marriage to the ground. I sat there, shaking, but not from rage. It was something colder. Emptier. I kept hearing that word, rescue dog. And the way she giggled like that was the funniest, most accurate thing anyone had ever said. I've always been the guy who says sorry first, even when I didn't do anything. The one who lets arguments go quiet just to keep the peace. I never raised my voice at her. I never cheated, lied, or even looked at another woman. And now I was some wounded puppy joke in a wine-slicked hotel room. It was around midnight when she came back. I didn't expect that. I thought she'd stay the night with Mitch or Kara or whoever the hell was covering for her this week. But the front door opened like nothing was wrong, like she was just returning from a yoga class. She didn't even flinch when she saw the light on in the kitchen. "Oh, you're up," she said, dropping her keys in the bowl like it was any other night. I didn't say anything, just stood there, watching her walk around my house like a stranger. She reached for the fridge, then paused. "Did you eat?" I asked her one question. Did he call me a rescue dog to your face? Or did he save that for the camera? Her whole body froze, just for a second. Then her hand dropped from the fridge, and she turned slowly toward me. You went through my stuff? I laughed. Actually laughed. A stupid, painful, dry-throated kind of laugh. You think that's the problem? She blinked fast. That wasn't meant for you. It was a joke. A dumb joke. No, I said. A dumb joke is calling someone boring. This was cruelty with a punchline. There was silence for a few seconds. I thought maybe she'd cry. Maybe she'd fall to her knees and say she messed up. But instead, she just crossed her arms and whispered, "So what now?" I slid a folder across the counter. Divorce papers my lawyer sent over digitally that afternoon. Not signed yet. Just printed. Waiting. You said to call you tomorrow, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I guess this is my version of that. Her eyes flicked to the folder, then back to me. For a second, she looked like she might say something. Maybe an apology, maybe a threat, but she didn't. She just walked upstairs and didn't close the bedroom door behind her. That was the moment I realized something. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even surprised she got caught. She just didn't care. But I did. And that's when I decided tomorrow wasn't going to be quiet. Tomorrow was going to be the day everything broke wide open. She slept like nothing happened. I heard her footsteps upstairs, slow and steady, followed by the creak of the mattress as she climbed in. That same bed we picked out together 2 years ago, after I spent 3 weekends reading mattress reviews because she said her back needed something softer. I was always soft. That was the point, right? I made everything easy for her, until I didn't. I sat in the kitchen all night. No lights. Just my phone, a notepad, and a glass of water I never touched. My thoughts were sharp now, not clouded by shock. And that terrified me more than anything. Because I wasn't crying. I wasn't pacing or spiraling. I was planning. At 7:02 a.m., I left. I didn't leave a note. Didn't make a sound. I didn't even look at her when I walked past the bedroom door. Just the thought of her in our bed made my stomach twist. But I was done begging for respect in a house I paid for. First stop was the bank. I froze our joint account. She hadn't touched it yet, still living off her little travel card and what I assumed was his money. But not anymore. Then I visited my lawyer again, this time with a new folder, screenshots, audio files, a printed timeline of her client trips, and the hotel confirmations she was too lazy to delete. His assistant called it a gift-wrapped case. I just nodded. Then came the key part, the thing that would tilt the game. I emailed Mitch. Yep, him. I found his real name in a digital receipt on that hard drive. Cross-referenced it with a business email signature from a forwarded invoice she forgot to delete. He ran his own design agency. Sleek, expensive, probably thought he was untouchable. I didn't threaten him. I didn't yell. I just sent a one-line message with a link to a private Dropbox folder titled, "She Said You Were Smarter." The folder contained 3 voice memos and a full export of her texts, unedited. My message said, "She recorded you. Might want to rethink the whole soulmate thing." I never got a reply. By noon, I was back home. She was in the kitchen, scrolling her phone like she hadn't shattered a person 3 days ago. I walked in, calm, steady, like I had just returned from a jog. "You froze the account?" she asked without looking up. I shrugged. "Didn't think you'd need it. You've got Mitch." Her head snapped up. She looked rough. Not guilty, just caught off guard. "You emailed him." I did. "You're seriously blowing up my life over a mistake?" That word. Mistake. Like I was a pothole she hit too fast. Like 5 years of loyalty and love was just a speed bump in her personal growth arc. "I'm not blowing up your life," I said softly. "I'm just finally getting out of the wreckage." She opened her mouth to argue, but her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and froze. I watched the blood drain from her face. Then she slowly placed it face down on the table like it was radioactive. "What did you send him?" she whispered. "I sent him you," I said. "The unedited version. The one with all the giggles and fake hotel stays." Silence. Then she did something unexpected. She laughed. Not sweet, not amused. Just that bitter, incredulous kind of laugh people do when they finally realize they've lost control. "You think this makes you strong? Going behind my back, digging through my stuff like some bitter loser?" I smiled. "No, I think it makes me awake." She stood up, fast, knocking over her chair. "You're pathetic." And maybe I was. But not anymore. Because now she was the one watching me walk out. And I wasn't calling her tomorrow. I was done answering. I wasn't expecting her to show up at my work. Faye never liked my office. She used to call it sad beige energy. Said the walls felt like a dentist's waiting room and the coffee tasted like paper. But there she was, less than 24 hours after our kitchen standoff, standing in the front lobby in that same beige coat she wore on our second date, probably intentional. My coworker buzzed me from reception. There's a woman here? Says she's your wife? Ex-wife, I almost corrected. But not yet. Send her in. She walked in like she owned the place. She always had that kind of presence. Posture perfect, eyes scanning everything like she was 5 steps ahead. But today she looked off. Her lipstick wasn't quite even, her mascara slightly smudged. And I noticed something else. No wedding ring, but still wearing the necklace I gave her when she got her promotion. Guilt armor. I just want to talk, she said before even sitting down. You're talking, I replied, not looking up from my screen. She dropped her purse on the chair across from me and sat without asking. What you did was cruel. Which part? I said, finally meeting her gaze. Sending Mitch the truth? Or letting you lie to my face for months without calling you out? That's not the point, she snapped, too quickly. You went nuclear. I leaned back in my chair, the same one she once teased me for calling ergonomic. You lit the fuse, Faye. I just stopped pretending I didn't smell the smoke. She went quiet. Her eyes flicked to the stack of files on my desk. She always hated when I used metaphors. Said it made me sound like a poet who never published. I made a mistake, she said softly, shifting her tone. A stupid, selfish mistake. But I didn't plan to destroy us. I tilted my head. You mean like when you recorded yourself walking to his hotel room whispering he still has no idea? That kind of mistake? She flinched, visibly. That hit harder than I thought it would. I was lonely, she tried again. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. You didn't even try. I didn't know how, she snapped, eyes glossy now. You're so quiet all the time. You never fight back. You just shut down. You retreat. I didn't want to be the only one trying. That part stung, because it wasn't totally wrong. I do shut down. I retreat when things get ugly. But maybe if I hadn't, none of this would have happened. Or maybe she just needed a better excuse than he didn't scream enough. She stood up, suddenly nervous, fidgeting with the strap on her purse. Can we just go somewhere? Talk this out, away from here? Please? I looked at her long and hard. Not the way a husband looks at a wife. More like a scientist examining a cracked beaker, trying to figure out if the thing ever worked the way it was supposed to. No, I said. Just that one word. Quiet. Final. She didn't cry. Faye never cried when it counted. She just pressed her lips together, nodded once, and walked out of my office with her chin up like she hadn't just lost the last person who ever tried to love her the right way. But I knew her better than she thought. She wasn't giving up. She was regrouping. And what came next, even I wasn't ready for it. It started with a phone call from HR. They asked if I could come in for a conversation. Not an investigation. Not a complaint. Just a conversation. That's corporate speak for you're about to get blindsided, but we want to sound polite about it. I sat across from my manager and a woman from HR I barely knew, Sharon or Shannon or something close. She smiled like someone offering a tissue at a funeral. There's been a concern raised, she said gently, like she was worried I might break into tears mid-sentence. A personal matter that's reached the workplace. I already knew. Who? I asked, even though I didn't need the answer. She slid a paper across the table. A printed email. I didn't have to read more than the subject line. Formal concern regarding Theo M. It was from Faye. She had submitted a formal complaint to my employer, claiming I had become volatile, mentally unstable, and unpredictable, and that she felt deeply unsafe being married to someone with access to sensitive company systems. She never accused me of anything specific, but the language was carefully chosen, just enough to get attention, not enough to be easily disproven. She's not an employee here, I said, keeping my voice even. She doesn't even know what I do. Shannon or Sharon cleared her throat. That may be, but she identifies herself as your spouse, and her claims suggest you've made threats, which is why we're. I've made no threats. Would you be willing to put that in writing? I looked at my manager, Greg, who suddenly seemed very interested in a scratch on the table. I'd worked under Greg for almost 6 years. He'd seen me come in early, cover for sick colleagues, volunteer for the crappy weekend shifts. And now he wouldn't meet my eyes. She's trying to set me up, I said calmly. She cheated. I found out. She's retaliating. Shannon nodded like she expected that. That's what she anticipated you'd say. Of course it was. Faye didn't just want to win. She wanted to make sure I couldn't walk away clean. She wanted me marked as broken, bitter, unstable. A rescue dog with a bite. I left the meeting without slamming a door, without yelling, without doing anything she might have hoped I'd do. That probably frustrated her more than anything else. I went home, opened my laptop, and did something I swore I wouldn't. I recorded a video. It wasn't for her. It wasn't for Mitch. It wasn't even for the lawyer. It was for me. In it, I told the whole story. Calmly, quietly, just the facts. The hotel receipts, the audio files, the voice memos, her messages about setting me up to look fragile, the HR complaint. I ended it with this. She said she needed space. I gave it to her. She said I was too quiet. Now I'm not. She said call me tomorrow. So I called a lawyer. And I won't be answering her calls again. I didn't post it anywhere. I just saved it. Because I knew something she didn't. I wasn't planning revenge. I was building a record. And when the truth finally came for her, I'd be ready. Even if no one else believed me, I would believe me. And that's something she couldn't twist. Not anymore. The HR investigation quietly fizzled out 2 weeks later. They never said it directly, but I could tell they knew she was bluffing. My lawyers submitted a clean timeline, and I gave them access to the video. It wasn't rage. It wasn't a breakdown. It was just the truth, plainly told. That seemed to matter. Greg apologized in private. Said, I always knew you were the reasonable one. Which stung more than he realized. Because reasonable is what people call you when they don't have the spine to defend you publicly. But I didn't need his defense anymore. I wasn't there to earn gold stars. I was there to finish my exit. And that's exactly what I did. The divorce filing went through faster than expected. Faye didn't contest it. Not after Mitch ghosted her. I don't know exactly what I sent him that finally broke the spell. Maybe it was the voice memo, or maybe the way she laughed about hiding things. Either way, he blocked her. She sent me a message a few days later. You happy now? I didn't respond. I was done having conversations that only circled pain. Done being the soft place she could land when her other lies caved in. That role had expired. Instead, I moved forward. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't some movie montage of new cities and fresh romances. It was slow, clumsy, but real. I started running again. Not because I wanted to get fit or forget her, but because it felt like the only time I could hear my own thoughts without her voice echoing in them. I stopped wearing my wedding ring and bought a cheap silver band to wear on the same finger, not to lie to the world, but to remind myself there's weight in commitment, even if it's just to myself. One day, a barista wrote her number on my coffee cup. I didn't call. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But I smiled the whole walk home. The video I recorded? I deleted it. Not out of weakness, but because I didn't need proof anymore. I had already survived the explosion. I didn't need to sit around replaying the fire. The last time Faye tried to contact me was on a Wednesday. She left a voicemail. I messed up. I was scared. I didn't know how to ask you to love me differently. It wasn't an apology. It was a bid for reentry. I deleted it without listening twice. Some stories don't need sequels. And when I walked past that mirror in the hallway, the one she used to complain was too warped and dim. I stopped for a second and looked at myself fully. Not a victim. Not a fool. Not a rescue dog. Just a man who finally remembered that silence doesn't always mean weakness. Sometimes, it means you've chosen peace. And for the first time in years, I actually felt free.